Be me, Amanda, Human Resources Director at rapidly growing tech company. Finally made it to the top after years of climbing corporate ladder. 35 years old, Master of Business Administration from prestigious university, actually know what I'm doing. Company culture is my domain, and I've been slowly but surely making it a better place. For the right people, obviously. Monday morning, staff meeting with Chief Executive Officer Marcus and other department heads. Reviewing Q3 hiring numbers, and I'm feeling pretty good about our progress. Engineering team, now 68% female, up from 42% when I started 3 years ago. Product management, even better, 71% female representation. Marcus is nodding approvingly at the diversity metrics I present. Amanda, these numbers look fantastic. Board is going to love seeing this kind of progress. Internally smiling because I know exactly how we've achieved this. It's not about quotas or lowering standards. It's about recognizing unconscious bias and correcting for historical inequities. The market is finally catching up to what I've known all along. Get back to my office and review the latest batch of applications. Senior software engineer position, really competitive role. 7 applications made it through initial screening. 4 women, 3 men. The women's resumes are genuinely impressive. Sarah has experience at 2 unicorn startups. Jessica has published papers on machine learning. Rebecca led a team that scaled infrastructure for millions of users. Monica has contributions to major open source projects. Then I look at the men's applications. David, decent experience, but nothing exceptional. Typical programmer background. Tom, good technical skills, but resume reads like every other generic male engineer. Kevin, actually pretty qualified, but something about his cover letter rubs me wrong. Mentions meritocracy twice, and talks about objective technical excellence. Classic dog whistle language. Schedule interviews for the 4 women. David, Tom, and Kevin get standard rejection emails. While your qualifications are impressive, we've decided to move forward with candidates who are a better fit for our team culture. Perfectly legal, perfectly reasonable. Few weeks later, same story with product manager position. Reject 2 qualified men, interview 3 women. Hire Jennifer, who has amazing vision for user experience. The rejected men, Michael and James, probably think it's about their technical skills. They don't understand that technical skills are just table stakes. What matters is bringing diverse perspectives and challenging existing power structures. This pattern continues for months. I'm not keeping explicit records or anything stupid like that, but I have a mental framework for evaluating candidates. Women and minorities bring fresh perspectives and challenge groupthink. Men, especially white men, tend to perpetuate existing problems. It's not discrimination. It's strategic culture building. By October, engineering team is 73% female, highest in our industry sector. I'm invited to speak at Women in Tech conference about our hiring practices. Present a case study on building inclusive teams through intentional culture design. Get standing ovation, multiple LinkedIn connection requests. Feeling like I'm finally making real impact. Then the bomb drops. Tuesday morning, walking into office with my usual confidence, Marcus's assistant, Rebecca intercepts me before I reach my desk. Amanda, Marcus needs to see you immediately. Conference room B. Her face looks weird, like she's seen a ghost. Whatever. Probably just another planning session for Q4 hiring. Walk into conference room. Marcus is there with our general counsel, Patricia. Stack of papers on the table, both looking grim. Amanda, please sit down. We need to discuss something serious. Patricia slides papers across table. We've been served. Class action lawsuit. Gender discrimination in hiring practices. My stomach drops, but I maintain composure. Start reading through the complaint. 13 male applicants, represented by employment law firm. They've somehow coordinated and filed joint lawsuit, claiming systematic pattern of discrimination against male candidates. Seeking damages for lost wages, emotional distress, punitive damages. My mind is racing. How did they coordinate this? How do they have evidence of systematic patterns? I never put anything discriminatory in writing. All my rejection letters use standard neutral language. Patricia continues, explaining, they've subpoenaed our hiring data for the past 2 years. Human resources, records, interview notes, everything. They're claiming statistical impossibility of our gender ratios without deliberate discrimination. Marcus is just staring at me. Amanda, our hiring patterns show 89% female hires in technical roles over 24 months. 12 men interviewed, 2 hired. 47 women interviewed, 39 hired. Trying to explain my methodology. Those numbers reflect our commitment to building inclusive teams. We prioritize cultural fit and diverse perspectives. Patricia shakes her head. Amanda, they have testimony from 3 rejected candidates who recorded their phone screens during video interviews. Apparently you asked questions about their thoughts on workplace equality and comfort level working with strong female leadership. My hands start shaking slightly. Those were legitimate culture fit questions. I needed to know if these men would respect women colleagues. So many male engineers have fragile egos and create hostile environments. I was assessing team dynamics and cultural alignment. That's standard human resources practice. Marcus leans forward. Amanda, they also have LinkedIn data showing you've been actively recruiting from women in tech groups exclusively. Your recruiter outreach over 18 months shows 847 messages to women, 12 messages to men. Patricia adds, plus they found your participation in private Slack groups where you discussed were balancing the industry. Wait, how do they have access to private Slack conversations? Those groups were supposed to be confidential. We were just discussing best practices for inclusive hiring. Nothing I said was explicitly discriminatory. Those were professional development discussions about addressing historical inequities. Patricia slides another document across. This is a screenshot of a message you posted. Finally at the point where I can be selective about male hires. Only accepting absolute unicorns now. My face goes hot. That message was taken out of context. I was talking about maintaining high standards, not discriminating based on gender. And this one. Love watching mediocre bros get rejected, while amazing women get opportunities they deserve. Okay, that one sounds bad written down. But everyone in that group understood what I meant. I was celebrating the correction of historical injustices, not engaging in reverse discrimination. Marcus stands up, starts pacing. Amanda, they have statistical expert testimony. Professor of Labor Economics from Northwestern. She's prepared analysis showing mathematical impossibility of our hiring patterns without systematic bias. Says probability of randomly achieving our gender ratios is less than 0.003%. My composure starts cracking. Statistics can be manipulated to support any narrative. Our hiring reflects market realities and candidate quality. But deep down, I know this looks bad. I was careful about paper trail, but apparently not careful enough. How did these men even find each other and coordinate? Patricia continues, reading from complaint. They have documentation of post-interview communications where you told hiring managers that certain male candidates wouldn't be good culture fits despite positive technical evaluations. She looks up at me. Amanda, Kevin submitted a Freedom of Information Act request and got records from your university guest lecture. You told students that sometimes equal opportunity requires unequal treatment, and overcorrection is necessary to achieve true balance. This is spiraling completely out of control. Everything I said was academically sound and ethically justified. These men just don't understand nuanced approaches to equity. They see any deviation from their traditional advantage as discrimination. My academic presentations were theoretical discussions about systemic change, not hiring practices. Marcus stops pacing, looks directly at me. Amanda, they have testimony from 6 former employees. Women you hired who are willing to testify that you explicitly told them gender was a factor in their selection. My heart is racing. I might have mentioned to a few new hires that we were committed to improving representation. That was motivational, showing them they were part of positive change. I celebrated our commitment to diversity. That's different from discriminatory hiring. Patricia pulls out her laptop. They also recovered deleted LinkedIn messages where you coordinated with other human resources directors about male candidate management strategies. Oh God, the Women in Human Resources Networking Group. We shared best practices for evaluating unconscious bias in male candidates. Nothing we discussed was illegal. Professional networking conversations about bias recognition don't constitute conspiracy. But looking at Marcus's face, I can tell he's already mentally calculating financial exposure. Company is profitable, but not huge. Class action discrimination lawsuit could destroy everything we've built. How much exposure are we looking at? He asks Patricia. Potentially catastrophic. 13 plaintiffs seeking lost wages for 2-year period. Average tech salary in our market is $180,000 annually. That's $4.68 million in direct damages, plus punitive damages could triple that, plus legal fees, plus reputational damage, plus regulatory investigation. She pauses. If they can prove systematic discrimination, we're looking at $15 to $20 million total exposure. My vision starts getting blurry. Company's annual revenue is only $47 million. Lawsuit of that magnitude would bankrupt us. Everything I've worked for would be destroyed. And worse, it would set back progress for women in tech industry generally. There has to be a defense strategy. I say desperately. Our hiring practices were designed to correct historical imbalances. Courts recognize the importance of diversity initiatives. Patricia shakes her head grimly. Amanda, diversity initiatives have to be legally compliant. You can't systematically exclude candidates based on gender, even to promote inclusion. Marcus sits back down, looking defeated. Amanda, I need to ask directly. Did you intentionally discriminate against male applicants? The room goes silent. This is the moment where I could deny everything, claim it was coincidence. But looking at the evidence they've compiled, denial seems pointless. I implemented hiring practices designed to build inclusive teams and correct decades of male-dominated culture. Everything I did was in service of creating equitable opportunities and challenging systemic bias. If that's discrimination, then the entire concept of diversity and inclusion is discrimination. Patricia and Marcus exchange glances. I realize I've essentially just confessed, but I'm not backing down from principles I believe in. The tech industry has systematically excluded women for decades. My hiring practices were a necessary correction to historical injustices. Marcus rubs his temples. Amanda, regardless of your motivations, we're facing legal and financial catastrophe. Board meeting is tomorrow. I have to recommend immediate settlement negotiations. Patricia nods. Longer this drags out, worse it gets. Media attention, regulatory scrutiny, customer backlash. Suddenly, feeling trapped and panicked. You're going to settle? You're going to validate their claims that supporting women in tech is discrimination? This lawsuit is exactly the kind of backlash that keeps women from achieving equality. My voice is getting louder, more emotional. These men couldn't handle losing opportunities to more qualified women, so they're weaponizing the legal system. Marcus looks exhausted. Amanda, this isn't about supporting women. This is about legal compliance and company survival. Our insurance company is already threatening to drop coverage. Our biggest client is asking questions. Patricia adds, plus the Department of Labor is opening investigation. This could trigger federal audit of all our employment practices. I can feel everything unraveling. Years of careful progress being destroyed by entitled men who can't accept changing industry dynamics. Standing up, voice shaking with rage. This is exactly why systematic change is necessary. The moment women gain any real power, men organize to tear it down. Amanda, please lower your voice, Marcus says. But I can't stop. Emotions are pouring out. You think I discriminated? I gave opportunities to people who were historically excluded. I challenged a system that automatically favored mediocre men over exceptional women. Patricia is taking notes, probably documentation for termination. These men filed this lawsuit because they can't compete when hiring is actually fair. They're used to automatic advantages, and they're calling equality discrimination. Marcus stands up. Amanda, you need to calm down. Getting emotional won't help our legal position. But I'm beyond rational discussion now. Calm down. You're about to destroy everything I've built because some fragile men can't handle losing to women. Slamming my hand on the conference table. I spent 3 years turning this company into a place where women could actually succeed, and you're going to throw that away to appease a lawsuit from men who were rejected fairly. Both Marcus and Patricia are staring at me, like I've lost my mind. Maybe I have. Everything I've worked for is collapsing, and they're acting like I'm the problem. You want to know about discrimination? Ask the women who spent decades being passed over for promotions. Ask about the hostile environments created by male-dominated teams. Voice getting higher, more desperate. I didn't discriminate against men. I finally gave women equal opportunities. If that resulted in fewer male hires, it's because women are better candidates when bias is removed. Patricia closes her laptop. Amanda, I think you should take the rest of the day off. We'll continue this discussion tomorrow. The dismissal feels like a slap. You're suspending me? For defending inclusive hiring practices? Marcus nods sadly. Amanda, pending legal resolution, you'll be on administrative leave. Patricia will handle human resources functions temporarily. The betrayal cuts deep. After everything I've done for this company, after transforming our culture and achieving industry-leading diversity metrics, walking towards the door, then spinning back around. You're making the biggest mistake in company history. Those diversity numbers I achieved, that's what made us competitive. That's what attracted top talent. The women I hired are the reason our engineering team is the most innovative in our market segment. and you're going to destroy that to settle with rejected male applicants. Patricia and Marcus are just waiting for me to leave. They've already written me off, sacrificing me to protect themselves from legal liability. This lawsuit will embolden every mediocre man in tech. You're setting precedent that diversity equals discrimination. Voice cracking now. I was trying to save this industry from itself. I was creating opportunities for people who deserved them. And you're calling that wrong. Stumbling out of conference room. Entire office is staring. Rebecca pretends to be busy, but I can tell everyone heard me shouting. Walking past employees I hired, women who benefited from my inclusive practices, wondering if they'll understand why I fought for them. Getting to my office, hands shaking as I pack personal items. 3 years of building something meaningful. Progressive hiring practices, inclusive culture, industry recognition, all destroyed by men who couldn't handle losing opportunities to women. Computer screen shows email notification. Message from Kevin, one of the rejected applicants. Amanda, saw the news about the lawsuit. Just wanted you to know this isn't personal. We believe in equality too, but it has to work both ways. Deleting message without responding. He doesn't understand that, both ways, equality maintains existing imbalances. Real change requires intentional correction of historical inequities. These men are too privileged to recognize their advantages. Driving home, mind racing through everything that went wrong. How did they coordinate so effectively? How did they get access to private conversations? How did they compile such comprehensive evidence? Getting home, pouring a glass of wine, checking LinkedIn. Industry news outlet has already posted article. Major tech company faces gender discrimination lawsuit. Comment section is brutal. Mostly men celebrating, saying things like, finally, accountability for reverse discrimination. Some supportive comments from women, but they're outnumbered. Few days later, Marcus calls with update. Settlement negotiations aren't going well. Plaintiffs want $12 million plus formal admission of discriminatory practices. Companies' insurers are refusing coverage, claiming intentional misconduct exclusion. Board is considering bankruptcy as preferable to paying damages. Sitting in empty house, realizing my career in human resources is probably over. No company will hire someone with discrimination lawsuit history. Even though I was fighting for progress, not discrimination. Even though everything I did was ethically justified. A week later, final devastating news. Company agrees to $8.5 million settlement. Includes formal admission that hiring practices violated equal opportunity laws. Marcus, Patricia, and entire leadership team blame me for crisis. I'm terminated for cause. No severance, no references. Lawsuit settlement becomes industry news. Article headlines like, How Good Intentions Became Illegal Discrimination. My name is mentioned specifically as architect of problematic hiring practices. 6 months later, still unemployed. Every human resources position requires disclosure of lawsuit involvement. Progressive organizations won't hire me because settlement suggests wrongdoing. Traditional companies won't hire me because of discrimination allegations. Stuck in professional limbo. But the worst part is watching industry reaction. Companies are scaling back diversity initiatives out of fear of similar lawsuits. Men are using this case to argue that any pro-woman hiring is discrimination. All the progress I fought for is being systematically reversed. Realizing those 13 men didn't just win their individual case. They created precedent that will set back women in tech for years. They turned my efforts to achieve equality into example of why diversity is dangerous. They outsmarted me completely, and I never saw it coming. Late at night, looking back through old emails and LinkedIn messages, seeing how carefully they must have planned everything. Kevin saved our phone interview recording. David documented every step of application process. Tom connected rejected applicants through professional networks. They built airtight case while I thought I was being strategic. The most humiliating part is realizing I underestimated them. Dismissed them as typical mediocre men who couldn't handle competition. But they were smart enough to coordinate, collect evidence, and execute legal strategy that destroyed everything I built. They saw patterns I thought were invisible and used my own methods against me. Now industry uses our case as training example. Human resources directors learn about Amanda's mistake in discrimination prevention seminars. My name has become synonymous with illegal hiring practices. The men won completely. They got financial compensation for rejection. They destroyed company that rejected them. They created legal precedent protecting male applicants. They ended career of person who discriminated against them. And they did it all while claiming to support equality. Sitting here 12 months later, still fighting depression, still trying to rebuild career and reputation. still believing my principles were right even if my methods were wrong, but having to admit that 13 rejected men outsmarted and outmaneuvered me completely. They saw the system I created, understood its weaknesses, and destroyed it systematically. Everything I thought I was building, carefully and strategically, they unraveled with legal precision and financial devastation, leaving me with nothing but regret and industry-wide notoriety.